Okay.
Good evening. We are Open Door Theatre Company, and tonight we bring you the short, but nonetheless spine-chilling tale of the drowned spirit of the Rob Roy. Ladies and gentlemen, you find us here in the anchor maker's cottage, the home of Josiah Perks, as fine a steel worker as you could hope to meet. So fine, in fact, he was paid sufficiently to maintain a life of relative opulence, at least in comparison to the nailers or chainmakers who would also be involved in keeping the ships seaworthy. And here he is now. You see, Josiah was a designer of the anchors and other parts of the ship. Of course, his was a most responsible job, particularly as any fault or idiosyncrasy not picked up at the design stage could be tragic. Only a few months before our tale begins, the great ocean liner Titanic fell to her watery end, and that tragedy would be fresh in the minds of all those who worked in the shipbuilding industry. A failure of planning? Maybe. Complacency? Certainly. Now the thing is, like a great many other working men, he did like a drink. But as far as he knew, it never affected his work. At least, as far as he knew. He'd recently completed a contract for another small ship that set off from Tyneside just a few days earlier. A steamship by the name of the Rob Roy. Perks had designed and built the anchor for the ship, which had a crew of 30 men. It would be on its way to warmer climes right now. Or so he thought. He toyed with the pattern of the anchor that he had made as a test piece. Nicely finished and sturdy, no apprentice piece was this. Pleased with his work, he indulged in a drop of fine spirit which had become his habit of late, and sat to catch up with the latest news of the day in the paper. Now, many men of his ilk would have limited reading skills, but they would be by no means idiots. They would read as much as they needed to read to get by, but Perks liked to keep abreast of the news, such as reports of that year from the Welsh colliery disaster where 439 men lost their lives, or Emily Davison being killed beneath the King's Horse at Epsom Derby, and of course, how the Wolverhampton Wanderers were getting on. Then his eyes settled on a report which stopped him dead.
Steamship, the Rob Roy, has run aground in the South Seas. It is believed that the moorings had given way and it struck a coral reef. The ship went down with all souls on board, including the captain's young daughter.
A cold shiver came over him, and 1,000 thoughts bounced around in his head. What had happened? Could he have been in some way responsible? He picked up the paper again and read it.
Investigators have found that a faulty pivot pin on the anchor may have given way and caused the ship to drift into a coral reef, splitting the side of the ship. It is not believed that there were any survivors. What did I do wrong? Damn it. Was it the drink?
His mind reeled as a million thoughts flew around in it. Guilt, confusion. What could possibly have gone wrong? There had to have been a fault in the steel that maybe in his alcohol days he'd missed. If only he'd paid more attention. And then, as if echoing across a still and desolate ocean, a ship's bell. He swore he could hear the sounds of water lapping ever more vigorously on the sides of the ship, and the calls of mariners in distress. Then the tearing of a ship's hull and men falling to their deaths into the icy ocean. And then...
Who is it? Who's there?
There was something in the parlour. Esme, the captain's daughter, returned from her aquatic resting place, and here to point the finger of judgment at the man who had caused her death.
You killed me. You!
Oh, I'm sorry. It was...
As if you held my head under the water yourself.
No!
The sea claimed me, and it will claim you too.
And with that one last strangulated breath, the life was taken from him. The body of Esme was never found, despite many of the other mariners' corpses being washed ashore. But sailors do tell of hearing the plaintive cry of a young girl whenever they sailed near that wreckage. And as for Josiah Perks, the cause of his death was put down as a heart attack. But the coroner, for fear of ridicule, omitted to mention that when his body was opened up, his lungs were entirely filled with seawater. Then, that would be impossible, wouldn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been the Open Door Theatre Company, and you have been watching The Drowned Spirit of the Rob Roy. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you.